My brother got my fiancée pregnant while I was away at college. My parents took his side and told me to walk away. So I cut them off, built my life, and years later their lives began to completely fall apart because of him. My name's Leo. Older brother, straight a kid, quiet, did my homework, stayed out of trouble. Then there was my little brother Logan. Golden boy, future president Dr. Gift to humanity if you ask my parents. We lived in this regular suburban neighborhood, white fence, tiny backyard, 2 cars in the driveway. From the outside, we looked like the picture-perfect family. Inside, whole different story. Let me give you a taste. When I turned 16, my parents got me this used bike from Craigslist. $100 cash, rusty chain, seat tilted like it survived a tornado. Dad handed it over with a smile like he was giving me the keys to the city. "Be responsible with it, Leo," he said, all serious. I nodded because what else was I supposed to do? Ride off into the sunset on my squeaky two-wheeler. 2 years later, Logan hit 16. My parents hand him keys to a brand new Honda Civic. I'm not joking. Red bow on top, balloons, cake with Sweet 16, Logan written in blue frosting. Neighbors came over to see it like we were unveiling a new Tesla. Dad gave this big speech about how Logan needs a reliable car for school and sports. Yeah, because my wobbly seat bike was doing just fine for me, right? I was standing there eating cake off a paper plate, watching Logan rev his brand new engine while my own ride was chained to a stop sign out front, looking like it had been through war. Mom snapped pictures like Logan just won a Nobel Prize. Not one single picture of me on my birthday with the Craigslist bike. It's how it always was. I remember this one afternoon perfectly. I was maybe 14. Logan broke a window playing baseball in the yard. He cried. Mom hugged him. Dad called it an accident. A month later, I forgot to empty the dishwasher before bed. Dad gave me a whole speech about responsibility, like I'd knocked over a bank. So, yeah, I learned early my role in the family was basically unpaid intern. Meanwhile, Logan was treated like a visiting celebrity. He got out of chores, out of trouble, out of any situation that required accountability. Mom said it was because he's special, and boys like him need support. Funny how that support always came with cash, gifts, and second chances. I kept my head down and stayed busy. Started building computers out of old parts I found online. Sold a few for pocket money. Nobody noticed. Mom walked past my room once while I had a whole motherboard spread out on the desk. She didn't even ask what I was doing. By the time college started creeping up, I didn't even bother talking about my plans at dinner. I was grinding through applications on my own while Mom and Dad were busy figuring out which med school Logan should aim for. Kid hadn't even passed high school biology yet, by the way. So yeah, by the time senior year rolled around, I already knew the score. Some kids grow up with parents who cheer them on no matter what. Some grow up with parents who pick a favorite and never look back. Guess which one I got? And man, that birthday thing, that was just the opening act. By the time I hit senior year, the favoritism wasn't even subtle anymore. It was basically a family tradition. Take the Florida trip, for example. Mom had been talking about it for months. We were finally going to have a family vacation. The plan was beaches, seafood, a few days to relax before everything got busy with college stuff. I'd been saving money from my grocery job so I could actually buy souvenirs or maybe rent a jet ski for an hour. I was looking forward to it. Then Logan announced he had football conditioning the same week. Not a game, not tryouts, conditioning, running laps, lifting weights, drinking Gatorade, nothing that couldn't wait a week. Suddenly, the entire trip was up in the air. That's what Mom called it. By the next morning, it was postponed indefinitely, which in our family meant never happening. Logan can't miss this, Mom told me at breakfast, like it was the Olympics. College scouts look at dedication. Dedication. The kid played JV linebacker at a school where the football team lost every game by 20 points. Nobody was scouting anything except maybe how fast he could fumble. I didn't even argue. What was the point? We all knew if it was me with the scheduling conflict, Mom would have said, "You can skip it once, Leo. Family comes first." Not for Logan, though. For him, family came second. Maybe third. Somewhere after sports and whatever new girl he was texting that week. Dad just shrugged like the decision was obvious. "We'll do the trip another time," he said, not even looking up from his coffee. He said it like we were the kind of family that rescheduled things. We weren't, so yeah. Goodbye, Florida. Hello. Another summer at home watching Logan jog in circles while the rest of us sat in metal bleachers like supportive extras in the Logan show. The thing is, after a while you stop being surprised. Like when I started dating Violet around the same time. Met her when she was cutting my hair at this little salon near the grocery store. She was smart, funny, working 2 jobs while finishing high school. The kind of girl who planned ahead, saved money, talked about wanting to own her own salon someday. We hit it off fast. I brought her to the house once just to say hi before we went to grab dinner. Mom barely looked up from whatever she was cooking. "Is this your friend?" she asked. "Girlfriend," I corrected. "Oh," Mom said like she hadn't heard me right. Then she turned to Logan to ask about his practice schedule. That was the entire conversation. Meanwhile, every girl Logan dated got the red carpet treatment. Home-cooked meals, big introductions. Mom asking about their hobbies and life goals like she was interviewing them for a reality show. But Violet, she was just some girl until, well, we'll get to that part later. By the time graduation rolled around, I'd stopped trying to get noticed. I got into a good college on a full scholarship, told Mom at dinner one night. She said, "That's nice, honey," while texting Logan about his upcoming scrimmage. Logan, by the way, was barely passing biology. He once asked me if photosynthesis was a kind of camera setting, but Mom still called him the future doctor in the family. I was the kid with the full pride in computer science. Logan was the kid who could bench press 180 pounds and spell biology wrong on the first try. Guess which one got bragged about at church? Yep, I didn't even bother telling them when I landed a small tech internship the summer after senior year. Figured they'd hear about it eventually, probably from Aunt Karen. She was the only one who asked about my classes, my job, my life. Mom said Aunt Karen was too nosy. I thought she was the only sane person in the family. One night before college started, I overheard Mom on the phone with her sister. "Logan's going to be so busy with pre-med. We're just praying he keeps his grades up," she said. Not a word about me, the kid with the scholarship, the internship, the plan. I wasn't even mad anymore. It was almost funny, like watching someone bet their entire life savings on a horse that kept tripping over its own legs. That summer, I worked, saved money, hung out with Violet when our schedules lined up. She liked that I had goals, that I wasn't just floating through life like half the guys we knew. We'd sit in her car after late shifts talking about the future, apartments, jobs, maybe moving out of state someday. I never told her much about my family. What was there to say? Hey, come watch my parents treat my brother like he's curing cancer because he can throw a football 6 yards. Yeah, no thanks. By the time I packed for college, I'd figured 2 things out. 1, my family was never going to change, and 2, the only way I was going to matter in that house was by leaving it. And man, I had no idea how right I was about to be. College hit like a storm, but in a good way. New city, no parents, no Logan, no constant comparisons hanging over my head. I buried myself in classes and my part-time internship. Coding projects, cybersecurity electives, late nights in the computer lab. It was exhausting, but for the first time it felt like I was building something that was mine. Violet stayed back in our hometown. She was juggling the salon job and community college, saving money like her life depended on it. We made it work with video calls, weekend visits when I could scrape together the gas money. 2 years of long distance isn't easy, but we managed. She was the one person who actually believed in what I was doing. Never once complained about the hours or the distance. By the end of sophomore year, I had enough savings from internships and part-time gigs to buy a simple ring, nothing flashy but nice enough to show I'd actually planned for this. I proposed to her in this small park near her apartment, just the 2 of us. She cried, said yes, hugged me like she was scared I'd disappear. For a moment, it felt like my life was finally on the right track. And here's the twist. My parents suddenly started acting like Violet mattered. Mom asked about wedding plans, what kind of dress Violet liked, where we might have the ceremony. Dad even nodded approvingly when I mentioned we were looking at small venues after I graduated. For the first time, it seemed like maybe, just maybe, they were going to see me instead of Logan. I should have known better. Thanksgiving break rolled around, late November. I was planning to tell everyone about the wedding date, maybe share some good news about the internship, turning into a potential job offer. I drove home thinking this was finally going to be a normal holiday. Then I got a text from Violet. "Violet, we need to talk. Starbucks, please. It's important." That pit in your stomach feeling? Yeah, I had it the second I read that, but I told myself it was probably just wedding stress. She was already at a corner table when I walked in, holding her coffee like it was keeping her alive. Wouldn't even look at me. I sat down. "What's going on?" She took a shaky breath. "I'm pregnant." I froze. A million thoughts hit me at once. But before I could even figure out what to say, she kept talking. "It's Logan's." I swear the entire cafe went silent even though it didn't. She said more words after that, but I barely heard any of it. Something about how Logan stopped by the salon a lot while I was away. How he said she must be lonely, how it just happened. She kept apologizing, crying into her cup. I didn't yell, didn't ask for details. I just stood up, grabbed my keys, and left. The drive home was a blur. When I walked into the house, there they were. Mom pacing, Dad standing by the window with his arms crossed. Logan sitting on the couch like a little kid waiting for his report card. Nobody said anything at first. Finally, I looked straight at Logan. You want to explain this? He mumbled something into his chest. Speak up, I snapped, my voice echoing in the room. Still nothing. Something in me snapped. I walked over, grabbed his shirt, and shoved him against the wall hard. Say it, I yelled right in his face. You slept with my fiancée. My fiancée, Logan. He just stared at the floor like a coward. Not a word, not even a sorry. Mom screamed, Leo, stop it! Let him go! Dad barked my name like I was the problem here. I kept my fist on Logan's shirt, breathing heavy, waiting for him to look at me, to say anything, but he wouldn't even lift his head. You ruin everything, I said through my teeth. And they still protect you. Mom was yelling now. You're out of control. He's taking responsibility, Leo. He's going to be a father. We have to support him as a family. I turned toward her, still holding Logan. Support him? He betrays his own brother. And you want me to help him raise the kid? Are you hearing yourselves? Dad finally stepped forward like he was going to break it up. Let him go, Leo. You need to calm down. Calm down. Right. He sighed like I was the problem. They're young. Mistakes happen. If you really care about Violet, you'll let her go. Let her go. Just like that. Like she was some jacket I didn't need anymore. I shoved Logan back one more time before letting go. He stumbled but still said nothing. You know what? I said, pointing at all of them. You made your choice. It's him. It's always been him. Mom was crying. Dad was angry. Logan was silent. And I was done. They didn't try to stop me. Probably thought I'd cool off and come back like nothing happened. But when I drove off that night, I knew I was done for real. Back at school, I changed my number, deleted every photo, every message, blocked all of them except Aunt Karen. She was the only one who ever treated me like a person. Friends asked about the wedding. I just said, it's off, don't ask. Then I threw myself into work and classes like nothing else existed. Because at that point, nothing else did. I went heads down. Classes, coding projects, my internship. It all filled the space where family used to be. I didn't talk about what happened. Not to friends, not to professors, not to anyone. When people asked about the wedding, I just said, it's off, and left it at that. Days blurred into weeks, weeks into months, wake up, code, eat when I remembered, sleep when I crashed, repeat. One professor, Dr. Adams, started noticing how much time I was spending in the lab. One afternoon, he walked over while I was debugging some security scripts. You ever think about doing research? He asked. I shrugged. What kind? Cybersecurity, he said. Pen testing, vulnerability scans, encryption systems. I could use the help. Can't pay you, but it'll look good on your resume. I didn't even hesitate. I'm in. From then on, every free hour I had went into that lab. Learned more in 3 months than I had in 2 years of classes. Started building tools for penetration testing, scanning networks, messing with encryption algorithms. It gave me something to focus on that wasn't the mess I'd left behind. And while I was doing that, the mess back home kept getting worse. 6 months after I walked out, Aunt Karen texted me. Logan flunked out of pre-med. Thought you should know. I stared at the screen for a minute, then went back to coding. Of course, he flunked out. Kid barely passed high school biology. Med school was always Dad's dream, not his. But Mom and Dad had acted like he was the second coming of Einstein. Now it was over before it even started. A week later, Aunt Karen called. He didn't tell them until after it was official, she said. Whole semester of failing grades before he came clean. Your mom cried for 2 days. Your dad blamed the professors. I almost laughed. Classic. Nothing was ever Logan's fault. Apparently, he moved back home after that. Mom said he needed time to figure things out. Dad started talking about second chances. By late summer, about 9 months after Thanksgiving, Violet had the baby and was raising her mostly on her own. Logan helped when Mom nagged him, but that was about it. Aunt Karen kept me updated whether I asked or not. Logan tried working at a car wash for 2 weeks. Quit because the manager didn't respect him. Tried community college for a semester. Dropped out halfway through. Got a job delivering pizzas. Lasted a month. Mom kept saying he was finding himself. By senior year, I had job offers coming in. One startup especially liked the security tools I'd built with Dr. Adams, offered me a junior developer position with equity if I joined after graduation. It wasn't big money at first, but it was a real shot at building something from the ground up. So I took it, packed my stuff after graduation, and moved 3 hours away to a small apartment in the city.
Mattress on the floor, 2 plates in the cabinet, laptop on a card table for a desk.
Nothing fancy, but it was mine. First few months were brutal. 12-hour workdays, living on cheap takeout, learning a million things at once. But I didn't care. Every line of code I wrote pushed me further from the life I left behind. Meanwhile, Aunt Karen kept the updates coming. "Logan's talking about starting a business," she said once. "Some online thing. Your parents are thinking about helping him with the money." I didn't even respond. A couple months later, he borrowed $40,000 from some loan place for that business. It failed in a month. I asked how my parents got involved. "They helped cover the debt," she said. "Sold some investments, your dad's retirement account." So they were still cleaning up his messes. Same as always. But here's the thing. It didn't make me mad anymore. I wasn't even surprised. It was like watching a movie you'd already seen 10 times. You know exactly how it ends. The only difference now was that I wasn't in it. While they were selling off pieces of their lives to keep Logan afloat, I was learning how to build mine from scratch. Writing software, shipping updates, signing my first real lease on a bigger apartment. I never called them, never visited, not once. Because as far as I was concerned, I left that house 4 years ago, and nothing they did was ever going to drag me back. By the time I hit my 4th year at the startup, things were changing fast. The little cybersecurity tool we built started getting real attention. Investors came in, funding rolled through, our team grew. I was putting in 12-hour days, sure, but now there was money behind it. My title changed from junior developer to lead developer after the original guy left for another company. Suddenly, I was running a team, making decisions, shipping updates people actually cared about. My apartment got an upgrade too. Bigger place, decent view, real furniture instead of the card table and mattress setup. Bought a used Toyota that didn't break down every other week. It wasn't luxury, but it felt like I was finally moving forward. And while all this was happening, Aunt Karen kept me updated on the circus back home. "Your parents sold the house," she told me one night over the phone. I almost dropped my fork. "What? Why?" "Debt," she said. "Logan's business loan. Your dad's medical bills. It was too much. Dad had been in and out of the hospital twice already that year. Heart problems. Stress wasn't helping. Aunt Karen said Mom cried when they signed the papers to sell the house. Moved into some 2-bedroom apartment on the edge of town. Of course, Logan moved in with them." "What about Violet?" I asked. "She's still raising the baby," Aunt Karen said. "Mostly on her own. Logan helps when your mom forces him to, so nothing new there." A month later, Aunt Karen texted, "Logan quit his job at Target. Said the manager was disrespectful again." 2 weeks after that, Logan talking about a new business idea. "Wants your parents to invest." I didn't even reply because I knew exactly how that would go. Sure enough, a couple months later, she called me. "He convinced them to give him what was left of their savings," she said. "Some resale thing, flipping electronics online. It failed before it even started." I just shook my head. Same story, different day.
But then she told me something that hit different.
"Your dad's back in the hospital," she said. "Another heart episode." I leaned back in my chair. "Is he okay?" "Stable," she said. "But the stress isn't helping." Of course it wasn't. They were burning through money, losing their house, carrying a grown man who acted like the world owed him everything. It was only a matter of time before something gave out. Meanwhile, my life was the opposite. The company landed a contract with a big client. My name started showing up on presentations. People in tech forums started sharing the software we built. I was traveling too. San Francisco for a security conference, New York for a client demo. First time on a plane in years. I even bought a decent suit for the presentations. While I was out there pitching security solutions to Fortune 500 companies, Logan was back home arguing with Mom about why she couldn't lend him gas money. Aunt Karen sent me screenshots once. Logan complaining in the family group chat about how people don't support his dreams. My parents defending him like always. Mom said he just needs time. He was 24 with nothing to his name except debt and a kid he barely saw. One night, Aunt Karen called sounding annoyed. He asked your parents to co-sign another loan, she said. They said no this time. He threw a full tantrum. What happened after? I asked. They gave in, she said flatly. Sold their car this time? I laughed, but there was nothing funny about it. They're taking the bus now, she added. I sat there quiet for a moment. The same parents who told me to be independent, who ignored every good thing I ever did, were selling cars and houses to keep Logan afloat while he sank deeper. At some point, it stopped making me angry. It just felt predictable, like watching someone stick their hand on a hot stove over and over, screaming every time it burns but never learning. By then, I was making enough to not worry about rent or bills for the first time in my life, got a decent savings account going, upgraded my car, even started talking with the founders about launching a second product line. My name was on patent filings, mostly provisional applications, on client decks, and in small tech blogs. Aunt Karen told me Mom cried after they sold the car. Not because of the car itself, but because she finally admitted out loud that there wasn't anything big left to sell. Nothing except a few personal keepsakes. But even then, she still defended him. He's trying, she told Aunt Karen. He just needs one thing to work out. Yeah, sure. Every time I heard another update, it was like watching a storm wreck the same house over and over while the owners just kept rebuilding with cardboard. And I knew it was only going to get worse from here. Then one night, my phone lit up with a number I didn't recognize. I almost let it go to voicemail, but something told me to pick up. Hello, Leo. It's me. Mom's voice shaky like she'd been crying. I froze for a second. How did you get this number? Aunt Karen, she said quickly. Please don't hang up. We need to talk. My first instinct was to hang up right then. 4 years of silence, and now this. But I didn't. What do you want? I said flatly. She took a breath like she was bracing herself. Leo, things have been difficult. Difficult. That was the word she picked after everything they'd done. She kept talking. Your father's health isn't good. He's been to the hospital twice this year, and we had to sell the car after the house. There's nothing left. I leaned back in my chair. Why are you telling me this? Her voice cracked. Because we need your help. We can't keep up with the bills. Your father can't work anymore. Logan he's trying, but... Trying? I cut in. He's 24. When exactly does he stop trying and start actually doing something? She didn't answer right away. He just needs another chance. Another chance. Same story, different day. Let me get this straight, I said. You're broke because you sold your house, your car, your savings, all for him. And now you want me to fix it? We're your parents, she snapped suddenly. Like that settled everything. And I was your son? I shot back. The one you told to let Violet go. The one you ignored every single time Logan screwed up. Silence. I could hear her breathing, shaky and uneven. Leo, please, she said finally, softer now. Your father's sick. We need you. I felt my jaw tighten. All I could picture was that night years ago, the shouting, the betrayal. Logan sitting there silent while they told me to support him as a family. You made your choice, I said, voice low but steady. It was always him, not me. That's not fair. It's the truth, I cut her off. She didn't speak after that.
Just quiet breathing on the other end of the line. I let the silence hang there for a few seconds before finishing it.
I have nothing for you, I said. Goodbye, Mom. Then I hung up. My hands were shaking as I set the phone down. For the first time in years, I didn't know what to feel. Not anger, not sadness, just empty. Next day, Aunt Karen called. I heard your mom reached out, she said. Yeah, I muttered. She's desperate, Leo. They've got nothing left. Your dad's health is getting worse. And Logan, Aunt Karen sighed.
Logan's still Logan.
Meaning what? I asked. Meaning he's sitting on the couch while your mom works part-time at the grocery store to keep the lights on. He's talking about some new business idea again. I laughed bitterly. Let me guess, he needs money for it. Of course he does, she said. And your mom will probably find a way, even if it kills her. None of this surprised me anymore. Aunt Karen kept going. She said something yesterday about wishing things were different with you. I didn't respond because wishing didn't change anything. Over the next few weeks, the updates kept coming, whether I wanted them or not. With the same failed business still bleeding, Logan talked them into selling what little jewelry Mom had left to stabilize cash flow. It didn't. 3 weeks later, it collapsed for good. Then Dad ended up back in the hospital again. Aunt Karen said the stress was eating him alive. Mom told her she didn't know what they'd do next. Bills were stacking up, car gone, house gone, retirement gone. Logan, of course, blamed everyone but himself. Said his partners didn't deliver. Said the market was bad. Said he just needed one break. Same lines he'd been using for years. Meanwhile, I was busier than ever. Our company was about to roll out a massive software update. Investors were lining up for the next round of funding. I barely had time to eat some days, let alone think about the mess back home. But late at night, when things finally went quiet, I kept hearing Mom's voice in my head. "For Father's sake, we need you." I told myself it wasn't my problem, because it wasn't. But I knew one thing for sure. This whole thing was heading for a crash, and I wasn't planning on being anywhere near it when it happened. It didn't take long. 2 months later, Aunt Karen called me on a Tuesday evening. "You sitting down?" she asked. "Yeah, why?" "Logan got arrested." I almost dropped my coffee. "For what?" "Fraud," she said. "Some loan paperwork scam. He tried faking documents to get another business loan after the last one tanked. Bank caught it. Police got involved." I leaned back in my chair, stunned but not surprised. "How bad is it?" "Bad enough your parents had to bail him out," she said. "Not that they had the money for it." Of course they didn't. A week later, she texted me again. "Apartment's gone. They couldn't keep up with the payments. Eviction notice came yesterday." So there it was. House gone, car gone, savings gone. Now the apartment too. "They're moving into some cheap rental across town," Aunt Karen said. "Place barely has running water."
And Logan? I asked.
"Sleeping on their couch, whining about how the system is against him," she said. I shook my head. Same script, same actor. Then came the part that almost made me laugh out loud. "Violet packed up and left," Aunt Karen told me. "Took the kid, moved to another state, said she was done waiting for Logan to grow up. So now he had nothing. No girlfriend, no kid, no house, no car, no job, just a pile of debt and parents who were finally out of things to sell. By then my life looked nothing like theirs. Our startup exploded after we won a pilot with a federal agency, a small time-boxed contract that became a full award a few months later. Once the security reviews and paperwork cleared, investors doubled down. My team grew from 5 developers to 30 in 6 months. I was leading all of them. Tech blogs ran articles about our software. One magazine interviewed me about cybersecurity trends. My name started showing up on LinkedIn posts from people I'd never met, calling me one to watch. I bought a condo downtown, nothing crazy, but modern. 2 bedrooms, big windows overlooking the city. A long way from the mattress on the floor apartment I started with. And while I was speaking at a cybersecurity conference in Chicago, Logan was apparently back in court for missing payments on his fraud fines. Aunt Karen said Mom had to borrow money from neighbors to keep him out of more trouble. It was like watching 2 opposite lives play out at the same time. Mine built from nothing but long nights and caffeine. His built on handouts and excuses until there was nothing left to hand out. A week later, Aunt Karen sent me another update. "Logan's moving in with some buddy from high school. Your parents can't afford him anymore. Place has roaches. No heat half the time." So, that was it. The golden child finally ran out of gold. My parents sat in a rental apartment with peeling paint and overdue bills. Logan sat in a roach-infested house blaming the world. Violet built a new life somewhere far away. And me? I was flying to San Francisco to close a deal with another client. After the conference, Aunt Karen called again. "Your mom said something yesterday," she told me. "She said she wished she'd treated you the way you deserved." I leaned against the hotel window looking at the skyline. "She actually said that word for word?" Aunt Karen said.
I thought about it for a second, then nodded to myself. Too late now.
"Yeah," Aunt Karen said softly. We talked for a few more minutes before hanging up. That night I sat on my balcony back home, city lights glowing below. For the first time in years I felt done. Not angry, not bitter, just done. I texted Aunt Karen, "Thanks for always being straight with me." She replied a minute later, "You deserved better, Leo. Always did." I set my phone down, finished my coffee, and looked out at the city I'd built my life in. 5 years later, Logan was still working dead-end jobs and living with whoever would take him in. My parents never got their house back, never recovered financially, and Mom stopped calling after the last no I gave her. I bought a condo downtown, spoke at a tech conference in New York, and started dating someone who actually respected me. Aunt Karen still checks in sometimes, but the rest of them, I left them in the rearview mirror where they belong.